fade out. Sort of.
I like it.
Sort of. Hey everyone, I hope you're having a good week. You'll probably notice that it looks a little different in the studio. That's because we just finished building a new studio, and that means a lot of really cool and fun things for the members that are watching. We're going to be able to come to you live a lot more often and provide you a lot more really fun content, have a lot of guests out that I'm really excited about. And it's just going to be easier for us to connect with you more on a regular basis, which is going to be so awesome.
Yeah,
and
it's the greatest.
And it's pretty big in here. I like it. It's just nice and open.
Nice and big. It feels great. It feels really good. Yeah.
What we're going to be talking about today is major and minor keys, and that jam track that is the jam track's up for resources, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All it is, it's a G major chord for I think 8 bars or something like that, and then a G minor chord. So what it does, it gives you a way to kind of work on major and minor keys, first of all, and work on major and minor scales. Yeah. And think about flipping back and forth between playing a major scale or major pentatonic scale and keeping the root notes the same, you know, all of your G's in this case, and then switching to a minor and either you could work on a natural minor scale, minor pentatonic, Dorian, G Dorian scale. And it's just a really good way to kind of flip back and forth. And that's really one of the first steps to being able to play over chord changes is emphasizing whether a chord is minor or major.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about today is just major and minor keys, how they work, where they come from, and how you can start to use that knowledge to get better at learning songs, figuring songs that you want to play out, and then writing your own stuff too.
Yeah. And I will mention, make sure, as you already mentioned, the jam tracks in the resources, but we also have the PDF, which it's shorter. It's just a couple things, right? Is it the...
A picture is worth 1,000 words. And I did that on purpose. I had like a full page of stuff, and I was like, you know what? Forget that. I just want to make it as simple as possible. That way we can grab onto one thing, take it away, and work on it this week, and hopefully get a little bit more understanding about music theory and how to use scales or how to where chords in certain keys come from, those types of things.
Absolutely. And if you are watching on a YouTube, make sure that you click on the link in the description and head over to guitarlessons.com and watch there, because that's where you can download these resources as well.
Righto.
Righto.
And we're giving away t-shirts today, just so you know. I don't know how Andrew's going to make it up as we go along.
I'm literally going to make it up on the spot.
So if you want a t-shirt, convince Andrew that you want a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Without asking for one.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Cool. Let's see, there's one other thing. Oh, no, I'll get into that later. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the matter of how major and minor keys work. And in order to start, your baseline place to start is the major scale. And I always say everything always comes back to the major scale. So you don't have to be super familiar with how major scales are built or with any particular major scale, because there's so many resources out there nowadays that you can just download, you know, a PDF. We have a cheat sheet that we've used in this lesson with major scales, and it's a great reference for you. All a major scale is, it's a 7-note scale made up of whole steps and half steps. You don't even need to know that to get a lot from this lesson. In the PDF of this lesson, we have the key of G major written out. That's kind of our baseline starting point. Again, G major scale is just 7 notes. That's all you need to worry about. G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. And best thing to do right now is say that out loud a few times every day while you're kind of drilling this key. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. You can even say the numbers with it. That helps a lot too. 1, G, 2, A, 3, B, 4, C, 5, D, 6, E, 7, F sharp. That is ideal. And we'll get into that later. But that's your starting point. You have to just understand that there are 7 notes and then have the key that you want to find out the chords of and see how that major key works. Have that in front of you somehow or write it down, right?
Yeah.
Now the next little point I have for you is to memorize, this is really easy, memorize which of those numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which one of those 7 numbers are major chords, because there's only going to be 3 types of chords that occur naturally in major keys. Those aren't the only types of chords you can use in a song or that are, you know, used in songs that are written, but they are your starting point. They're a good foundation. So memorize what chords are major in a major key naturally. And that's really easy, and that's 1, 4, and 5. So look at the 1st, 4th, and 5th numbers that are labeled on the key of G major, and those are going to be major chords that occur naturally in the key of G major. So obviously, if you look at the 1 chord, it's a G, right? Pretty simple. That's very self-explanatory. We call that our tonic or our root. So 1, 4, and 5. So G is the 1 major chord. 4, take a look at that, or write out the key of G major if you want to. If you can't download the PDF, if you're watching on your phone or something, write down the key of G. What's the 4th note? Andrew.
Are you testing me?
No, I'm just trying to make a conversation.
C.
C. So C is going to be a major triad, right? And that, if you've been playing guitar for a while, you probably noticed that G and C kind of go hand in hand together a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to take some of this delay off. I know I'm killing you
yeah.
guys with that. So 1 and a 4, and maybe you've heard somebody say, like, play a 1, 4, or 5 progression in the key of whatever, G major in this case. That's where this is coming from. They're just talking about the scale degree, or the number in the scale that chord is built on.
Right.
So the next and last major chord in a major key that occurs naturally is the 5 chord.
Yeah.
And that is G, A, B, C, D. And you'll probably notice too, if you've been playing guitar for any amount of time, that D, you're gonna find a D with a G major a lot.
Yeah.
So that's how you can tell the naturally occurring or diatonic chords in any major key. Again, those are the only major chords that you could use in a song to write a song, or song you might be learning. But they're a really good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, I'm making up statistics on the spot here, but I would.
Half of all statistics are made up.
Nate, is that a made up statistic that you just made up?
Maybe.
Is that probably 80% of songs contain especially what you hear on the radio, just diatonic chords.
Oh yeah, really close to
A
it.
lot of songs do. Yeah, so you can definitely, you can have a whole career.
I like diatonic music.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for musicians, they like to get a little more interesting sometimes, but for the average listener, they probably prefer to hear diatonic chords.
Cool. So just remember 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5. That way, anytime you pull up a major scale, you can look and automatically see those are the major chords, or my starting chord points of major chords that I can use.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work involved in drilling keys to where you memorize, exactly what chords are what in the key. But that's a place to start. Anyone can do that, no matter if you just started playing today.
I'm going to show everybody a cheat that makes you just learn one little chord progression and you can play it every
Go for it.
I'll show them later.
Is it all major chords?
No.
Okay.
It's everything. We'll show later.
Okay.
One thing I will just mention is if you guys are members, make sure you get those questions in.
Yeah.
And they can be about what we're talking about today and also anything else if you want to. And just so you guys know, for those of you that are members, if you want to win a shirt, you got to send in a question. That's how we're going to do it. So you have to send, and it can't just be some dumb question. It's got to be a good question, and then you'll get a chance to win.
Cool. We'll ask some questions in the YouTube chat, maybe?
I think with YouTube, we're going to get people to comment.
Okay.
So they have to comment on the video, and for Facebook, it's the same.
Okay, perfect. I'm giving away a bunch of shirts. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. The same thing goes, the second kind of chord out of the 3 types of chords that occur naturally in a major key are minor chords. Yep. And there is another simple example. There's 3 different minor chords for every major key that occur naturally. And the same kind of principle applies. You just have to memorize which numbers they are out of the 7 notes in a major scale, right? So if 1, 4, and 5 are major, just remember that 2, 3, and 6 are minor.
Yep.
And it's pretty easy now. Look at your key of G major. If you have it written out, great. If you have the PDF, great. Remember, it's 2, 3, 6, 2, 3, 6. What's the second letter or the second scale degree in the G major scale?
It's A.
It's A. A? That's very Canadian of you. It's
well, it's spelled like the letter A.
Oh. Gotcha. Anyway, so second scale degree is A. You're going to have A minor. I would say it's not as common as the 4 or the 5 chord, or the 6, which we'll get to later.
I would say it's the second most common after those ones you just listed.
I would agree with that. But just remember A minor. So far we have G major, second scale degree is A minor. Yeah. Third scale degree, remember 2, 3, and 6 are minor. So third is what, a B. So we have a B minor. And if you don't know how to make bar chords, literally what you can do is just take your A minor shape, make it with, doesn't matter, these 3 fingers is fine, move it up 2 frets, and just play those 3 strings. That's totally fine. Easy way to cheat kind of the B minor bar chord if you haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
So 2, 3, and 6, 2 and 3 are A minor and B minor. And now that leads us to the ever popular and emotional 6 chord.
Ever popular and emotion.
Yes. If you want happy, 1, 4, 5. If you want emotional, put a 6 in there. Put a minor 6 chord. And in the key of G major, the 6th scale degree is an E, so you're going to have an E minor. And again, if you've learned some songs in the key of G major, you probably have seen an E minor that goes along with it. That's why. So think about that 1, 4, and 5. What are those notes in the key of G major? G, D, C, G, C, and D.
Yeah.
So those are your major chords. And then what are the 2, 3, and 6, the minor chords? A, B, and E minor. So those are going to be your minor chords. And you may be thinking, whoa, 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 this is a lot of information. You don't have to take this all at one time. You know, I've been doing key of the week lately, and it's been something that's really been helping me.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing, I hate drilling keys.
Yeah.
But it's like when I am consistent with it and apply a lot of my playing to that, drilling keys on the fretboard, actually knowing the notes, I'm hard-pressed to find a more effective way to get better for myself on guitar.
And I should mention, I will plug the guitarlessons.com Facebook and Instagram is where you can actually kind of follow along with Nate's progress on that. You've been sharing that. Yeah, it's been good.
And like what I do is I write down the key of, in this case, if the G major was the key of the week last week, I write down the key of G major like G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 15 times, and then I write out the key of E minor, the relative minor key to G major, which we'll get to in a second. So kind of the second half of this lesson. I write down both of them. I write down a whole page worth, and then I automatically know that C and D are the 5 chords. 6 is an E minor. You know, F sharp is the 7 chord, which was the last thing we kind of need to go over for major keys as far as how they work. So the 7 chord is a little bit different. It's kind of an oddball. It's not used a lot in pop or rock music, and it's what we call a diminished chord. So let me show you. And I'll go through a quick example here. If I have a G major triad, G, B, and D, don't worry if you don't know what that means. If I want to make that minor, I would take the 3rd note, 1, 3, 5, and lower it. This isn't important for this lesson. I'm just kind of going through the process. A diminished chord is when you take the 5th and lower it too.
So it's a minor chord with the 5th also lowered.
Yeah. So major collapses to minor, collapses to diminished. So the 7th scale degree has a diminished triad that goes along with it.
Yeah.
Not too concerned about that for you guys if you're just getting into music theory. The main thing I want you to take away from this lesson is the 1, 4, and 5 are major, 2, 3, and 6 are minor, and then the 7th is the weird one.
The
diminished.
7 isn't usually used as much as something other than a step to go somewhere, I find, more so in popular
kind of
music.
a passing chord.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing like jazz or progressive stuff.
Yeah, it's very, it has a lot of, it requires a lot of resolution, I find. It's a fair amount of tension in that chord.
Okay, now I was debating with myself how to proceed with this next part of this lesson because I want to make this as easy as possible for you, but I also want to give you enough information to where you're not going to be thinking, what about this? What about this? So I'm just going to play a G major scale for you quick. I just decided this. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. That's just the G major scale that we started at the beginning of this lesson in order. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Now, I just want to go over how to make a natural minor scale with you really quick. All you have to do is lower the 3rd, 6th, and 7th notes by 1/2 step. So think about the 3rd, 6th, and 7th scale degrees, and hopefully you're starting to get familiar with them after we've just gone over what the chords are in the key of G. So the 3rd would be B, and that has a minor chord that goes with it. The 6th is E, and the 7 is a diminished chord. It's going to be an F sharp. So we need to take those notes and lower them by 1/2 step each to play, to turn that major scale into a natural minor scale. When you do that, you're going to go 1, 2, lower 3rd to B flat, 4 is a C, 5 is a D. Now the lowered 6th is an E flat. Lowered 7th would go from an F sharp to an F, and back to a G. So you just morphed or mutated that G major scale down by lowering the 3, 6, and 7. And don't worry about being able to play the shape. I'm just wanting you to get the concept down.
Yes.
So that's how one way you can think about minor keys being made or minor scales being made.
And one thing I will point out is a common misconception is that a G major scale and a G minor scale, they're relative, they're not.
They're not.
It's that's something different. So a G major scale, like what Nate and I played at the beginning, was G major and then G minor.
It's just mutating back and forth. That's what they call it, between G major and G minor.
Exactly. So when we did that, we had to completely change the actual notes we were playing,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
to how you were just showing. Yeah.
Different, like there's key signature for G major is 1 sharp, F sharp. Key signature for G minor is 2 flats.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
I told Andrew I was going to do this. I don't know if I'm going to pull it off, but I can. What song was it?
Row, row, row,
Yes.
Okay.
So row, row, row your boat. I generally don't like doing like fairy tale songs or whatever. Correct. You know, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. To
Yeah.
do stuff. But
Nursery
this,
rhymes kind of thing.
Yeah, nursery rhymes. But this seemed to work really well.
Sounded how it should sound.
Yeah. Now, all I'm going to do is play the same number of numbers in the scale, but I'm going to switch to a G minor scale.
Okay.
And we'll see how this goes.
So ominous. It's so ominous.
And the only, it sounds like it just turned into a metal tune, only
Yeah.
it's like nursery rhyme, right? And only the difference is anytime the 3, 6, or the 7 were played, they were lowered 1/2 step.
Yeah.
All the other notes were the same in that melody.
You should have played it like this, Nate. Oh, I'm not plugged in. Never mind, guys. Never mind. I was going to do something awesome. Okay, wait, hold on, dude. I don't want to mess it up.
No,
anymore.
it gets metal. I don't know. I think it's a lot
Yeah, it
cooler
was very
anyways. It's less cheery. So a takeaway from that is if you want to write a happy song, probably stick to a major key. If you want to write a little more ominous song or sad or emotional, maybe think about starting with a minor key.
Yeah, and it's okay to mix. Well, maybe not. Okay.
Well,
Not-
the jam, what we're going to do at the end, it completely takes a different twist on the jam we started out with.
Exactly.
And we'll get to that.
We're not explaining everything because we got to go over relative minor
Yeah.
keys. So
Nice segue. Nice.
let's do what I was trying to do.
Now,
Yeah.
a relative minor key is a minor key that has the exact same notes as a completely different named major key. So, and we're going to stick with our example of G major. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. Those are the notes in a G major scale. Now, there is a minor scale that shares those same notes. And the way you can find that minor scale is to go to the 6th note of any major scale. So
Okay.
G, A, B, C, D, E. And if you start a G major scale on an E note, you're going to end up playing an E minor scale. It has the exact same key signature, exact same notes. The only difference is your focal point is now an E. So it's E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E.
Right.
Same exact notes. And the chords in the key of E minor are the exact same. Same notes, same chords, but the numbers are different. And I'll show you
Yes.
what I mean. So most people, when they think about a minor key, they think about the root note as being a 1, so an E minor. And here's how to play an E minor scale, just so you can get kind of an ear for it and lock into that tonal center. Same exact notes
Yes.
as G major. And same chords that go along with each note in that scale, but the E has now become the 1, right?
And what was once the 7, which was the F sharp, would now be the 2.
2.
Right?
So the 2 chord in any minor key is going to be what? Diminished.
Yeah.
Because the 7 chord in any major key was diminished. But let's go through it by major and minors again. Let's go through the minor chords. Since we're in a minor key, let's go through what minor chords occur naturally in a minor
Don't test
key.
me with the numbers because I don't think this way. So don't test me. I do it different.
So if we have our E minor for our 1 chord, kind of the same idea or a way to think about this applies. You can have certain numbers of the E minor scale, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, and back to E. You can have certain of those 7 numbers that occur naturally in any given key that are minor, predictably occurring naturally. And those, it flips around here. It comes back home. The 1, 4, and 5 in a minor key, any minor key, are going to be minor.
Oh, I actually didn't think about it that way. That
No.
actually, okay, never mind. You can
So-
test me.
Think about it. E, what's the 5th note in an E scale? E, F sharp, G, A, B. The 5 would be a B minor.
Yeah.
the 4,
B and A minor.
E, F sharp, G, A minor, E minor. So the 1, 4, and 5 in any minor key are going to be minor chords. But those are the exact same stinking minor chords that were in the key of G major. They were just
Yeah.
2, 3, and 6.
So
So the reference point is changing. That's it.
now,
Same numbers.
why would we not call it just all G?
It depends. It depends, and that's the jam track that we'll play at the end will reveal all of that to you. I'll show you. But think about, Andrew already said that the diminished chord for any minor key is gonna be the 2 chord.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you, this is gonna get weird because if the 6 chord in the key of G major is an E minor, 7 chord is an F sharp diminished,
Yeah.
the chords don't change, and I'm gonna play all the way up. G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished, back to E minor. Those
Right.
chords never change. The only thing that changes is if I'm emphasizing the E minor to be an E minor, right? Or if I'm emphasizing the G major to be in the key of G major. So the 2 chord is going to be diminished. Now there are 3 major chords that occur naturally in the key of E minor, and I want you to guess what they are, maybe even leave them in the comments. And they're the exact same major chords that are in the key of G major. The reference point just changes. So what were the major chords in the key of G major? G, a C, and a D, right?
Yeah.
So those are your major chords. Now when you have your E as being the 1, the 3, 6, and 7 are now where your major chords are going to happen. And it doesn't matter. You can think. You don't even have to think about numbers if you want to. I would encourage you to, because sometimes it can be really handy.
Yeah.
But if you just think about all those grouping of notes, no matter where you start as the key of G major or E minor, then you're going to be good to go, and you're automatically going to start to know what your basic options are in any given key, or particularly that major key. But it helps if you know the numbers when you're starting to learn new keys. Like, okay, 1, 4, and 5 in a major key are major. 1, 4, and 5 in a minor key are minor.
Yeah.
Now look at this minor scale. I'm like, okay, that's the 1, 4, and 5. I know what chords I can play, or use as a starting point.
Yeah.
Cool.
That number system that you're talking about is affectionately referred to as the Nashville number system. And they use it for almost everything in the studios down there. And all they're doing is they just number all the chords, and then it doesn't matter what key you're in, because then they just apply it to whatever key they're in all the time. And I think when they do it, they only ever do it from a major perspective. So even if it's like
Probably, yeah.
yeah,
Even if like it's in E minor, it would say a 6.
exactly, yeah, just to keep it congruent for everybody. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. It's a handy little trick. So I have a little thing that I'll show you about how I think about keys, unless you had another thing you wanted to mention.
I'm done.
You're done? So what happened was when I was starting to learn how to play, I didn't learn theory the normal way, and I was playing in church, and the problem with church is that you always have a different singer. So not that it's a problem, but you always have somebody who's different who's singing, and you're playing the same songs, but you have to change the key based on who's singing. Sometimes it's a guy singing, sometimes it's a girl singing, different girl, different guy, different ranges. So what I started to do was especially with 1, 4, 5, and 6 being the most common chords, and this applies to everything, but I'll just show you with 1, 4, 5, and 6. If you know where the root notes, or I guess if you just know the names of the notes on the E, and you just pick one of those as, let's say, it's going to be, we're in the key of G, so I'd go, blah, 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 G is right there, right? Or we're in the key of C, and C is right there, right? So what I would do is I would just follow one simple chord progression shape, which was if we're in G, and I am plugged in this time, G, and it's with bar chords. That's the only problem. You would need to know bar chords, but it's 1, 4, 5, 6. Now if I was in the key of A, 1, 4, 5, 6. If I was in the key of E flat, so I never really had to know. It was just, oh, what key are we in? I didn't even really have to know, oh, what chord is that? It's like I just was able to just play because the shape is the same no matter what key you're in. You're just moving that there.
Relative to
there,
where you
up two,
start, yeah.
up two. It's just relative. So that was the way that I always looked at it, and it definitely worked. It allowed me to fake my way. It's not exactly the right way to do stuff. But
I adopt that a lot when I play bass. I don't
Oh,
know
do
why.
you?
For some reason, outside of like here on bass, I'm like, I have no idea what the notes are. I just see it differently, right? So
Yeah.
I just, pure shapes, pure geometry. Like
Okay,
I know that
yeah.
1, here's the 5, 4, 3, 2.
yeah. That's you could fill in the other spots too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyways. Okay. Should we jump into questions?
Sure. I'm going to tell these guys about something while you're
Tell them about
pulling up the
something.
questions. This Thursday, and hopefully every other Thursday from now on, till the end of time, except for when I'm on vacation, I'm going to be starting a practice along sessions for the members, and it's going to be at Thursdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I know a lot of our members overseas in Europe and other places around the world can't make the live broadcast, so I figured I'd do one in the mornings, and it's going to be a practice along with different topics every week. This week's going to be strumming, and it's going to be just a question and answer time too, just to hang out in case you guys want to ask anything and want to get it answered live, in case you need any clarification. So Thursdays, 10 a.m. Pacific time. That'll be nice evening time, I think, for most European guys.
Yeah, it'll be good. It allows some different people to jump in. It's gonna be cool. But that is for members only. Again, I will mention if you want to win a shirt, members, submit a question. We may not get to all of them, depending on how many we get.
But you'll still get a shirt.
But you'll still have a chance at a shirt.
I thought he was giving everyone
Could
one.
you imagine? Oh, there'd be so
could.
many shirts. So you have a chance at a shirt if you do that. If you're on YouTube, you just have to comment on the video. And if you're on Facebook, again, just comment below the video. And somebody random will win a shirt. Okay, first question here from David L. My singing actually sucks.
I can relate.
Yeah, same. But I would like to know how to figure out what is the best key for me. I find several versions of tabs for the same song with different keys. How do I figure out which is best for me? I am a few months beginner.
Man, I think if you're talking about singing, I would say pick a key where you're not straining yourself too much.
There's an important thing to remember because a lot of people think, oh, the best key for my voice, let's say it's D major. Well, every song needs to be in D major. No, because the notes are in a circle. So technically, every key is good for you. It just depends where the melody is.
Right.
Right?
It could be super soaring and be in D. Like,
Or
oh, that's too
super
high.
crazy low. You never, because it can be anywhere, because it's just a circle, right? So what I would do is I would pick probably the easiest key to play on your guitar to start, maybe, especially if you're a beginner, and go and start there and think about it as, is this too high, is this too low? And one thing you could do is you could look at a capo.
That's what I was gonna
Oh,
say.
sorry, I didn't mean to steal that
okay,
from you.
that's good.
Okay, yeah, is a capo, and what you can do with that is, especially if you pick the easiest version, you can just take the capo and you can move it all over the place. And you can't really go down. There's a way to do it by going all the way up to the 12th and then coming back, but you don't really do that. Then you would use different chords with a capo. And you had a couple great lessons, actually, I think, over on the free,
Did I?
the free
I don't remember those.
guitarlessons.com site, yeah, where Nate goes over exactly how to use a capo. And we also did in one of our live sessions, we did a nice long talk about using capos, playing the same thing, different chord progressions, using a capo
Oh, yeah.
to sound different. So that's what I would recommend. Don't worry too much, especially if you're not performing and stuff, like push your voice. If it's in a good key or a bad key, don't worry about it too much and just kind of
Record yourself and listen back with a critical ear. I should take that down a step.
You're gonna sound a lot different when you start recording
Yeah.
yourself. Your voice sounds different in your head. For good or for bad, it depends. Next question from Pia Jutsu. What is the easiest way to learn the minor keys? What is the easiest way to determine which major and minor chords go together?
I think I just had a really long-winded answer of that in the past 20 minutes.
I was
No,
gonna say, yeah.
in all seriousness, print out your major keys. We have a cheat sheet for that one. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. All of this is a bunch of major scales written out. The 1, the 4, and 5 are always major. The 2, 3, and 6 are always minor. The 7th chord is always diminished. And those are your starting points. There are other chords used in songs, but those are your foundational starting points. And if you want to do the same exact thing with only in a minor key, go to the 6th note of any minor scale. All the chords are going to stay the same, but the 6 is going to be your focal point. So
6th of a major scale.
6th of a major scale, yeah. That's the best way. And do like I have been. You know, I'm still working on this. Pick one key per week and then pick, have the relative minor that goes along with it and just drill it. It doesn't take me long. It takes me like 3 or 4 minutes in the morning to write out scales. And just do that. And you're going to notice a big difference. You're going to notice automatically, I know what the 4 chord is in the key of A. It's D, right? So.
Yeah. If you don't follow us on Facebook, make sure you do so that you can see those pictures of Nate's. Because it's helpful when you look at it. It is.
It's helpful when you write it out too. Like I can think about it, and it's next level when I write it out.
Yeah. They say that that's like a good, what is it, a mnemonic tool, mnemonic device
Johnny
kind
mnemonic?
of thing write it down. It helps rather
It
than
does
even
help.
saying it.
As
or
much as I
thinking it.
hate to admit it because I hate doing it. But
Yeah,
it works.
I know. I haven't written since school. Like, how
no,
did you-
I tried to write in cursive the other day. I was like, what's wrong?
I sold an old beater car yesterday, and I was writing out all the stuff, and I kept messing up because it's been so long, I don't have the muscle memory anymore. Anyways, this is completely irrelevant. Next question from Bean Jammin, also known as Benjamin. I like that name. That's a good name. Hey, Nate and Andrew, you've mentioned diatonic chords, and I can understand how to find those in a given key, but is there a specific way to figure out what non-diatonic chords work in a given key, or is that just up to personal preference? Great question.
You can use any chords you want with any chord you want if you're writing music, right? I will give you some very common consonant-sounding non-diatonic chords just to get you started. If you're in the key of, let's do G major again, let's stick with that. So if you're playing a G major, there's a 4, G to C, play to F, C, G. Now you can think about it being in the key of G major with a lowered major 7th.
I love that one.
Very bluesy, rootsy.
You know who nail that? And that's like Black Crows. Listen to some Black Crows. Oh,
Yep.
so good.
That's a really common one, a lowered major 7. So what's the 7th of G major? F sharp. Lower that by 1/2 step and build a major chord on that. That's a really common one. Another really common one would be a major 2 chord. So if you're in the key of G major, what's the second scale degree? It's an A, and the 2 is usually minor, right? Just play a major there instead. And that's usually followed by the 5 chord. So that's another one for you. Another one is a minor 4.
Okay. Yeah.
So those are 3 really common ones.
That would cover the same ones that I would use. I don't really go too crazy outside of that. One thing you can do is, when you're messing with, non-diatonic chords, is modulate keys too, and get into a little bit of that. I know it's a little bit more, maybe not more complicated, but it would be something like making all of a sudden your 5 chord the 1 chord of the key that you're in.
Yeah,
Modulate
that's
it
what 5 of 5's secondary dominant chords. That's all a major. If you have a major 2 chord, it's the 5 chord of the 5 chord in the original key.
Right.
Then back to the 1.
Yeah.
And you can do that with any chord. You can have 5 of 3, 5 of 4, 5 of 5, 5 of 6, 5 of 7.
Some nerdy stuff we're getting into here. I like it. Next question from Evan. What are the most common keys used with stringed instruments?
It depends what country you're in, I suppose. I don't know.
It's true. I would assume, let's go with
For
the
guitar, E and
Americas.
G and A, D. Any sharp keys?
There's, it's bad habit for guitar players. They almost always speak just in sharps and not in flats.
Like even just like the key of F, which is 1 flat, and the key of B flat, which is 2 flats. Super popular piano keys, but a lot of guitar players avoid it. So if you're
call
like
it
an
A sharp,
intermediate
not
player,
B flat.
make those 2 keys your keys of the week and start learning voicings for the chords in that key and start learning those key signatures. That'll help you a lot.
Yeah.
And piano players won't look down upon you anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
A B flat, how do you play that?
You use the shapes that I just showed you. Just bar chords. That's a good question, though. I like that one. Next one here from Catman, the superhero. Hi guys, Catman here in sizzling Phoenix, where my man Trump is visiting today. I hope this question isn't too dumb, but I was always wondering what the dots on the fret signify. That's a really common question we get, actually.
I just look at them as like road maps so you can differentiate one thing from another, man.
A lot of people think that the inlays represent a specific note, but that's not really the case beyond the octave. So beyond that, they're really just how to find yourself more than anything.
Yeah, it's a reference. So if I look down, and I know that somewhere around here is the 5th fret, and I know it has a dot on it. I'm gonna be able to go to that quicker.
Exactly.
That's it.
It's reference. And the same thing for me, like if I'm looking for a C on the E string, it's like I know that's 8th, even though there's no marker on that. I can tell because of where the 7th one
I know
and the 9th one is.
the one that doesn't have any dots on it next to the one that's 2 away from the one with 2 dots on it is a D. You know?
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but that's my answer.
It's really just
a
a visual aid. It doesn't really serve a musical purpose.
classical guitars don't have that, so at least most of them. Some of them nowadays are getting ones on the side. but
Yeah, I
most of
remember
them
my
don't.
very first guitar was a classical guitar, and I had to use whiteout to
Yeah.
put the little markers on it. Okay, next question from Jerome. Hi guys, since we're discussing theory, how is E minor the relative minor of G major? And
Okay.
that was before we talked about it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, and he says, you just answered my question.
Perfect.
Okay.
So yeah, just think about it as the exact same notes, that only a major and a minor key that share the exact same notes.
Yeah, exactly. Next one is from Bowaldenal. Bowaldenal.
I'm glad I don't. have to
I'm
read
sure
these.
I'm just butchering that. I'm sorry. So can we make any of the chords the 1 and all of the rest of the letters and numbers shift?
Yes, you can.
Modes.
So, like, if you started on in our example of G major, if you started on the 2 and made that your home bass and used the exact same notes as G major, you'd just be playing in a different mode. You'd be playing in A Dorian.
And that's
Same exact notes.
There's words that are synonymous for major and minor, and major is called Ionian and minor is called Aeolian. So you'll sometimes hear Nate refer to them.
They
as
just
that.
happen to, like the major and minor scale, Ionian and Aeolian, just happen to be the most popular
Exactly.
modes that we hear on a regular basis.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's actually a great question. I was thinking we should mention something like that. That's really good. Okay, we got 3 more questions. Unless more come in, then we will have more than 3 more questions.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer, yeah. Mark Knopfler, love that name. I think I've heard it before. Can you use a major and minor key both in the same song?
We're fixing to do that. Fixing to do that.
Fixing to.
In a way that you're probably not talking about, though. Sure, you can modulate to any key you want within a song. It just depends what you want to hear and what you want to convey, right?
Yeah.
What we're going to do, I'll explain to you what we're going to do for this. All I'm going to do is play a 1-4-5 in the key of G groove. So what is that? 1-4-5 in the key of G will be all the major chords in G major. G, C, and D. I'm going to play a groove on that, obviously emphasizing the G and making that my home bass, okay?
Correct.
For like 2 rounds, I don't know what that'd be, 8 bars.
Yeah.
After that,
Someone coming in off camera.
I'm going to switch to the key of E minor, which is the relative minor key to G major, right?
Right.
And I'm going to play a 1-4-5 in the key of E minor. Now remember, 1-4-5 in a minor key, all minor chords. And I'm going to be emphasizing the E. And then I'm playing A minor, B minor, E minor. And I'm obviously in the key of E minor there. Or
You're playing 6-2-3.
6-2, but no, I would disagree with that.
I know.
Just because I'm emphasizing, but you like literally you could look at it as 6-2-3 if you want to have your reference point still be G.
Nate's just nicely telling me that I'm
No, it's true. I probably think about it more like that than the other way.
Okay. That makes sense.
I usually reference everything back to a major scale.
Yeah,
Personally.
that's how I've done it too. It's kind of a habit.
So yes, you can. That's just one way, and we're not really shifting. And we're not changing any notes there. We are going from G major to E minor, but I think you're talking more like, can I go from like G major to B minor? That's fine. Like that
Yeah.
to me sounds like you're
sounded good.
moving from a chorus to a verse or something. You know?
There's lots of different key modulations, and they're all going to sound really different. But what you just played sounded great.
And that was a guess, I guessed. But there are specific ways you can modulate. And maybe I should do a lesson on that in the future, on like mechanisms you can use to modulate smoothly that are real nice. But
Yeah, a little more advanced, but very important. Okay, we got 2 more questions. This one is from Les Acadiens.
You did
I'm
it!
getting better. Hi guys, is it okay to practice with strings that are not so new anymore? I don't feel I need to sound good as much as I need to play the right strings and notes.
Man, I changed strings on this guitar last night.
Yep.
And the only reason I did was I knew I had a live lesson today, and they were rusty, man. They're like, I was like, this is it. I have to. Because any time I can get away without changing it, I hate changing
That honestly gave me shivers when you were doing that. It made my eyes water.
No, but like literally, I went like this down my strings and went, and my fingers just stopped. And I was like, it's time, man. But if they're just sounding not as bright as they could, or you know,
losing some
they don't look as great as they
whatever.
could, but they're not really affecting your playing much, then whatever. But if you're having a hard time moving around the fretboard, then I'd probably just go ahead and change them. I would change them before that, though.
As you spend more of your time playing, the best feeling in the world is fresh, stretched in strings.
Yep.
Okay, this is the last question, it looks like. So this is from Lynch Family Values. What's an easy way to remember this? I actually think that might be a mistype. He did a follow-up question.
Okay.
What key would you recommend beginners learn first? There we go.
C major, but I wouldn't stay there very long because it's a little bit too easy. I would probably do C,
Yeah.
G, and then do a flat key, do F. Those three.
And you're talking about learning it in your head, not the chords, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just studying it, writing it down every day, whatever level you want to take it at, right? I know some people are like, I just want to play guitar. I don't want to learn, all about keys inside and out. That's fine. But if you are wanting to study keys, start with C, just get an understanding of how major scales and major keys work. Then move on to G. It's a little bit different. It's still easy. And then move on to F. And after that, just put all the keys in a hat and pick one out every month to work on or something like that. That's what I would do.
I would do the exact same thing. Yeah, that totally makes sense to me. Well, that's it for questions.
Okay.
Was there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so. Just the practice alongs that are coming Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time for members if you want to make it up. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really chill. Get your questions answered too. Now, for this last jam we're going to do, I'm just going to play G, C, D, 1, 4, 5 in G major, right? All major chords. Then I'm going to switch to E minor and play 1, 4, and 5 in E minor, A minor, B minor. Or you can think about it as 2, 3, and 6 in the key of G major. And Andrew is going to shift his emphasizing from G's to making it sound like you're in G major to shifting to playing and emphasizing E's to make it sound like you're in E minor.
I'm going to try my best. Yeah.
And we haven't rehearsed this at all, so
So
we'll
when
see.
we switch, I don't know how it's going to work, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Crash and
Figure it out.
burn.
Guys, thank you for coming out. Thank you for all the awesome questions. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.